In today's video, I'll share how I transformed this raised bed into this. I moved the keyhole opening from here to over here. I extended the length of the bed a couple of feet in that direction, and I capped all of the wood with cedar fence boards in hopes of extending the life of the wood. I made all these changes in preparation for building a walk-in hoop house, which will cover the entire raised bed. I'll start by showing how I reconfigured the bed. Most of you probably won't ever need to do something like this, so I'll just share what I did rather than present a detailed how-to. First, I removed the original keyhole opening. I removed all the screws from the boards framing the opening, and then the boards themselves. During this entire process, I did my best to not disturb existing plants whenever possible. I kept all the screws and most of the wood, except for pieces that were far too decomposed to salvage. Given the fact this bed is now 7 years old, I was surprised to see that most of the wood was in pretty good shape. I then framed in the original keyhole opening, using only salvaged wood and screws from this and other projects. Next, I removed the wood framing from the west end of the bed in order to extend the bed a couple of feet to the west and to create the new keyhole opening. Once again, I used only salvaged wood and screws. This opening will be the entrance and pathway into the new hoop house. To complete the keyhole opening, I removed the soil down the center of the bed and framed it in with salvaged wood. I then made sure the bed was level and square and finished filling the new sections of the raised bed with compost. At this point in the project, I've used only scrap wood and screws that I removed from the original bed or had around the house. So far our budget is zero. However, as I mentioned before, the wood from the original bed is now 7 years old, and I don't want to build a hoop house over a bed that has at best another 3 years of life. So in hopes of extending its life, I've decided to cap the bed with cedar fence boards. Cedar is a very popular wood for raised beds because it's rot resistant and termites don't like it. To prevent splitting, I drilled 8 pilot holes in each board using a countersink drill bit. 4 of the holes lined up with the sideboard, and 4 lined up with the 2x4 ledge on top of the raised bed. The cedar fence boards were dog-eared on one end, so I had to cut 1 inch off of the end of each board, reducing the length from 6 feet to 5 feet 11. Fortunately, the width perfectly matched the depth of the raised bed. For sections like this that were cobbled together when modifying the bed, I made sure to use full-length boards to tie the separate parts together and strengthen the whole. The sideboards had some decay on the inside, but still had plenty of solid wood to screw into. The 2x4 ledge was in excellent condition, with practically no decay. Capping the sides of the bed went surprisingly quickly. I cut the fence boards to length with a miter saw as needed, and secured them to the original bed using deck screws. Now it's time to cap the ledge. The width of the ledge, including the cedar, is 4 inches, so I stripped the remaining fence boards 4 1/4 inches to fully cover the ledge and conceal the original 2x4. I drilled 4 or 5 pilot holes for each full-length board, cut boards to length with a miter saw as needed, and secured them to the ledge with 2-inch deck screws. After capping the ledge, I mulched the keyhole opening with wood chips, which really improved the look of the bed. I have to say I'm very happy with the end result. I like the way the bed looks, and I think it should last for several years. The 21 fence boards and deck screws I purchased for the project came to only about $70, which isn't bad at all for a bed this size. Now I need to turn my attention to protecting these plants before the winter comes. Our average first frost date is October 15th, but fortunately there are no freezing temperatures on our 10-day forecast. Even so, I'm in a race against the clock to get some protection over these plants before the freezing temperatures set in. My first step will be to set up cold frames over the plants here in the back, and a low polytunnel over the rest of the plants. After that first layer of protection is set up, I'll then build a walk-in hoop house over the entire raised bed. These 2 layers of protection will keep most of our plants going well into the winter, and some all the way through the winter. I hope to bring you videos on how this all unfolds. Well, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, remember, you can change the world 1 yard at a time.